Question number 2 for this week is from Tom Marshall. That's at Red Zone Ock. Is Kevin Stefanski, Tom asks, handcuffed to Deshaun Watson? This is a fascinating question. And I don't think it's about Kevin Stefanski being handcuffed to Deshaun Watson so much as it is about the Browns being handcuffed to Deshaun Watson. And really, you need to look at this from a monetary standpoint. It's important to divorce. It's impossible to divorce Deshaun Watson's situation from his contract. So here's the way his contract sets up over the next 2 years in 2025 and 2026. He has those 2 years left on the contract. He is fully guaranteed $92 million over those 2 years. Now, people have asked, can he get out of that? Where's the escape hatch? There really isn't one. He would need to be suspended to default on his guarantees, and he'd need to be suspended for something that the Browns didn't know about when they did the contract. So it's a very narrow path to walk if you're the Browns, if you're looking to get out of that contract. I don't think it's going to happen. And so that leaves you responsible for the $92 million fully guaranteed. Yes, there are offsets in the contract, but even when it comes to that piece of it, if you were to cut Deshaun, there's no reason for another team to pay him above the minimum because they're not going to pay him more than the $46 million he's owed in either of those years. It's just not going to happen. So even if you get a little bit of that offset, it's going to be a very, very small percentage of it. So you're responsible for the $92 million fully guaranteed. You're also responsible for $172.77 million in cap charges. There's no getting around that. There's ways of massaging the cap. There's ways of manipulating the cap. There's no getting around the fact that in some way, somehow, they're going to have to account for that $172 million if they were to move on from him after this year. It leaves them in an almost impossible situation. And that's why I don't think it's likely that they move off of him this year. I also don't think it's likely they move off of him going into next year. Now, after next year, could there be a chance of something? Sure. Could they draft a quarterback in April? The idea of grooming him to replace Deshaun Watson in 2026? Yes, they could do that. You still have the cap charge. You still have a cap charge. You'd still have the guaranteed money, $46 million fully guaranteed, due in 2026. But those numbers are a lot less than they are right now. So, again, to get back to your original question here, Tom, is Kevin Stefanski handcuffed to Deshaun Watson? The simple answer to that question is yes. They have to find a way to make it work with Deshaun Watson, which is part of the why you saw the offensive staff changes last offseason. Those were about Deshaun Watson and trying to evolve the offense for Deshaun Watson. The ownership there is very is determined to pull every lever they possibly can to try to make sure that they haven't left any stone unturned in getting the most out of Deshaun Watson. I think it's part of this is simple too. Like they need to they need to be honest with Deshaun Watson. They need to be hard on Deshaun Watson the same way Bill O'Brien was for all of those years in Houston. It's a tough situation, and it's hard to watch too because you watch the way it's unfolding. He does not look close to the player from an instinct standpoint, from a movement standpoint than he did in Houston. The 7 sacks he took this past Sunday were reflective of what we've seen over the last couple of years, which is a guy who's not moving in the pocket the same way he did before. He's not, playing with the same sorts of instincts he did before. You get little flashes. There was the play against Vegas where he makes the throw off schedule to Amari Cooper, the one that got called back that may have won that Vegas game. But they're far and few between. And, certainly I think they're going to keep trying. But for right now, yes, they're married to Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's a real way to get out of it.